Since the invention of the wheel, new technologies have continuously given rise to new markets and displaced established commercial leaders.
Mankind has witnessed every change and revolution, since an apple falling on Newton to hands rising up to take a selfie with new technologically advanced smartphones.
Well, there's a lesson to be learned here about how anyone at the top can be stumbling down, and even a struggler can be at the top.
This reminds me of those many things that are going to be absolutely obsolete because of new inventions and innovations. You know, Nilesh, in fact, even your cash would go away.
What do you mean by that? I do have my cash in my pocket.
Oh, no, silly. That's not what I meant. In fact, not only your cash, but your checkbook, your ATM, your physical credit cards would all become obsolete. Yes, all of them have already been added to our smartphones, and soon you wouldn't need any physical materials at all.
Oh, now I get it. Just like a cloud system could easily disrupt the storage format by replacing USB and physical computer memory.
That's a good example.
Agreed, but I still feel that we have reached to a certain limit with innovation. Don't you think, Reema?
Absolutely not. Do you know, Japan has driverless cars and robotic drivers, and India is yet to leverage these new incoming technologies. Not only that, but today we have the cell phone in our hand. Tomorrow, our hand might only become the cell phone. Who knows?
Whoa, that's an eye-opener. So let's just all agree that innovation is nothing unless you don't leverage it, or else you could be disrupted.
And hence, either be the disruptor or be disrupted.
Absolutely.
So on this note, let me introduce you all to the theme of Touge 2018, Leveraging Disruption. We have already hinted at the challenges it brings about, but it's interesting to note that market disruption isn't always unintentional.
Certainly, sometimes marketers use different ways to deliberately cause disruption and stack the cards in their favor.
Big names like Netflix, Google, Jio, Byju's, and most recently Patanjali have been known to use this strategy.
It's not surprising that in the age of viral content, it's all about anything that catches the eye of the customers, even if it means to create imbalance in the market.
But on the flip side, it is through these disruptions that the market emerges even stronger than before, or dissolves with a useful lesson to be learned for its successors.
That's an interesting observation, Reema. Talking about disruption and how to successfully leverage them, we have amongst us some great marketers to share their knowledgeable insight. And it's time to welcome them on behalf of DSIMS.
Now, we would like to request Director General Dr. N.M. Kondap to present a bouquet of flowers to Mr. Amit Abhyankar and welcome him to grace this occasion. I would like to formally introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Amit Abhyankar, who is currently the sales head for India and SAARC region for Wipro Limited in the field of cybersecurity, a field that is currently closest to technological disruptions. He has previously worked for brands such as Tech Mahindra, which are among the top 5 global software service companies. He has also been an entrepreneur, heading a startup, and a passionate teacher, with his stint as a visiting faculty at some of the most prestigious B schools in Mumbai. With over 25 years of professional experience under his belt as an instructor, programmer, and a hard-nosed sales leader, he has been invited to speak on subjects such as disaster recovery and business resilience in India and in international forums in countries like the United Kingdom and Mauritius.
Now, we would like to request Dean Dr. Sharad Kumar to present a bouquet of flowers to Ms. Rachna Dhaka and welcome her to grace this occasion. Speaking a little about Ms. Rachna Dhaka, who is the Sales Process Marketing Head, India and SARC at Cisco, B2B marketer with over 15 years of experience in ICT industry across marketing, pre-sales, industry alliances and channel management. With over 10 years of experience in Cisco, she has insight across enterprise, public sector as well as service sector. She has personally co-led multiple transitions in India, which has redefined Indian consumer behavior, access to technology, and new business models. Currently focused on taking the marketing motion to the next level with and for SP's transformation through cloud-centric, service-led, and recurring revenue business model. She is passionate about digital democracy and women empowerment through digitization. Recipient of 100 Most Innovative MarTech Leaders by World Marketing Congress.
We would like to request Director Dr. C. Babu to present a bouquet of flowers to Mr. Rajiv Kumar and welcome him to grace this occasion. Thank you, Babu sir. Mr. Kumar, we please request you to take your seat on the dais. Speaking a little about Mr. Rajiv Kumar, he is currently the Senior Vice President for Market Development South Asia in MasterCard. With more than 25 years of experience, he has previously worked in MasterCard in Middle East, ANZ Grindlays, and American Express. He is a prestigious alumni of Chartered Institute for Bankers, United Kingdom. He has also worked as a head of retail banking in Bahraini Saudi Bank and as a divisional head marketing and sales in Emirates MBD. He has also worked in companies like Arab National Bank, National Bank of Abu Dhabi, and National Bank of Oman.
Now, we would like to request Dr. Sarita Vichore to present a bouquet of flowers to Mr. Sanjay Banerjee and welcome him to grace this occasion. Talking a little about Sir, he is the CEO of digital advertising tech company. He was the Associate Vice President of QNX Consultant with over 33 years of experience in B2B marketing and over 10 years of experience in B2B digital advertising. He was the Vice President of ITvidya.com. He has led with companies such as Sai Group of Companies, Pharmaceutical Product of India, Amers Polymer, and Corona Limited.
We would like to request Marketing Conclave Convener, Professor Ruchika Shaukin, to present a bouquet of flowers to Mr. Ravikant Banka and welcome him to grace this occasion. I would like to introduce Mr. Ravikant Banka, who is the founder and CMD of Egg First Advertising Agency. He was a senior consultant at Deloitte Consultancy and is a prestigious alumni of JBIMS. An engineer and MBA, Mr. Ravikant Banka started his own venture after spending a few sharpening years in the corporate arena. First, as a strategic planner and business development manager in California, and then at AF Ferguson, now Deloitte. He then decided to establish a place that would help build beliefs for brands, and hence Egg First was born. Behind the no-nonsense strategist lies a person who's extremely passionate about path-breaking creative. His ability to blend sensible strategy with mad creativity helps build beliefs and deliver results more often than not. Adding to it, his unwavering commitment that has established Egg First as a business-friendly agency delivers results.
Last but not the least, we would like to request E-Cell convener Nilesh Deshpande to present a bouquet of flowers to Mr. Manoj Verma and welcome him to grace this occasion. Talking a little about Manoj sir, who is currently the business head and product management for payments, fintech, IoT at Lyra Network. With over 12 years of experience in payments domain with companies like Worldline, Atom, and NPCL. He is seasoned payment domain profession with techno-functional background and a subject expert on IoT and M2M connectivity. Mr. Verma has many firsts before his names. He was a program lead for managing and implementing RuPay e-commerce in India, involved with the first cash implementation and introduction of the first $100 payment in our country.
May we please request Professor Ruchika Shauki, convener, Marketing Conclave, to deliver the welcome address.
A very good morning to all. I, Professor Ruchika Shauki, welcome you all to the 8th chapter of the Marketing Conclave on behalf of the Marketing Faculty of DSMS. We all have been listening to the word disruption since a lot of years now, last 10 years or so, ever since technology started changing very fast. So we'll just look into it, what is disruption? I believe disruption can be defined as any development that creates a new market while destroying or displacing another. Disruption tends to challenge any black and white thinker. That's because there is no clear demarcation between opportunity and risk. It all depends on how you approach it. Today's market is full of disruptive forces across all industries and geographies with no signs of easing. The fastest growing firms find opportunities at every turn, taking marketing challenges and transforming them into competitive advantages. In today's hyper-competitive times, almost 20% of top executives believe that their main competitor in the next 5 years are not on the radar yet. Given this background, companies are pushing the envelope in a never-seen-before format to ensure that they are ahead of the curve, be it technology, talent, or any business model. But at the same time, everyone agrees that disruption must be embraced, not merely managed, talent or business models. But as per a study of KPMG, the top response to disruption among respondents was greater use of data and analytics, followed by investments in talent with industry and emerging technology expertise. When it comes to talent, importantly, growth companies often respond to disruption by identifying the need for required talent in advance of the demand. Draw an example from the auto industry, where cars are starting to act like big moving smartphones that communicate with wireless networks. Some companies have identified a need for cyber security as it relates to human safety. Therefore, they are adding ethical hackers to their staff to better arm themselves against future attacks with a team that thinks and responds like hackers. Amazon is creating competitive advantage by predicting the future with anticipatory shipping. Amazon is using consumer data, purchase patterns, and sophisticated analytics to anticipate what consumers will buy. And according to the patent, the packages could wait at the shippers' hubs or on trucks until an order arrives, thus facilitating a faster customer delivery, hence providing a competitive advantage for Amazon. The fastest growing companies, however, are significantly investing in new technology. Disruptors are more likely to succeed when their offering is based on processes, technologies, or business models which are difficult to imitate. For example, when Apple launched iPod into mainstream markets a couple of years back, Sony and Panasonic were the world leaders in portable music players then. iPod was an architectural innovation, a new combination of software and computer hardware that was familiar to computer firms, but not to the makers of traditional music players. Panasonic had little experience with those technologies and never entered the market. Sony took the challenge almost 5 years later, but they could never imitate the full business model of iTunes, and they were not as impactful as iTunes was. Netflix in particular has thrown itself headfirst into disrupting established Hollywood business models by serving customers with unparalleled amount of greater content for amazingly low monthly fees. They have done this not just by licensing content, but by buying and creating their own content, which they have begun to do on an unprecedented scale, and that has led to market disruption in the entertainment sector. Taking an instance from closer home, Maharashtra government announced their intent to build a hyperloop route between Mumbai and Pune. The full project is proposing to link central Pune, the Navi Mumbai International Airport, and central Mumbai with a potential commute time of just 25 minutes. Based on the ongoing analysis, the Mumbai-Pune route is proving to be the strongest economic case that we have seen in the country yet. The growth companies reported that the highest value will come not from any one technology, but from a combination that delivers true disruptive innovation. The need for accurate data, meaningful analytics, and emerging technology is also related to another disruptive factor: the rise of the individual consumer as a market of one. This change is most important in B2C industries, where purchase decisions are made by an individual and not by a committee. Amongst B2C companies, about 50% of the most profitable firms cited the market of one as the greatest opportunity if leveraged effectively. As companies attempt to navigate disruption and fluid environments, fundamental change management skills are becoming critical across all levels of the organizations. As per a survey, executives now more than ever recognize the need to effectively manage organization change in order to achieve their organizational goals. However, they also realize that managing change is both an art and a science, and that requires a proactive, structured approach that's nuanced and reflective of the organizational cultural goals as well. A recent study shows that 50% of executives are investing in expanding the scope of change management. These successful leaders have learned that lasting change requires much more than training and communication. In today's time, leadership must establish a compelling vision, create buy-in, ownership, and accountability, anticipate the impact of the change on the organization, and define and reinforce the specific behaviors needed in the future for the organization. The curious thing about disrupted industries is that very often, when you are living through them, it's hard to recognize just how monumental the changes would be. The changes are rapid and the magnitude is enormous. But it's difficult to assess the scope of the revolution. And that's what makes it so exciting. And that excitement we make the experience here in DSIMS by introducing you all to our theme, Leveraging Disruption. Thank you.
We would now request Director General Dr. N.M. Kondap to deliver the Director's report.
I think we have about 200 students on 240 students. Can we create a disruption, please? Yes, to me that is disruption. Yesterday, I think 3 students came. Who are the 3 students came to meet me? Well, students from marketing group. I was in the midst of some discussion, arguments. Suddenly I get a message from my secretary. Sir, 3 students from marketing group are coming to invite. Would you like to meet them? The question was whether to continue with the meeting and ask them to wait or allow them to come and meet me. Then I said, let me bring some disruption in myself, because I was sick and tired of those meetings, and I called them and they created a good round of disruption in me as well. But the disruption was positive. Look at it. Disruption, it happens every day. I was coming to the institute in a good frame of mind today morning. Walked into the gate number 8, first floor. Suddenly some 25, 30 students walked in. Sir, classroom is not open. Disruption. I said, what DG can do? No, sir, you are the ultimate. So you better decide. So what happened? I had to go to the 6th floor, take the help of my students and open the door. Again, that's a disruption. But what's important thing is, how do we manage that disruption? How do we leverage the disruption to the advantage of us? That makes a difference. Because when we talk about disruption, disruption is not just related to the technology. Disruption is related to the environment. Disruption is related to the political situation. Disruption is related to the elections that have taken place. We are not getting into what it is. But what's going to happen? Each one of these components are going to impact the business. Because the moment the new political party comes in, maybe the party has its own business model. And the moment the political party has the new business model, what happens is whether the corporates are ready to meet those models. Whether the corporates are in a position to interact with the government and come out with. It's not necessary. Suddenly we must have seen a couple of months back, dollar rupee moving up to 72, 73, whatever that number. And what happened is disrupted the entire business economic model of the companies. If this is what is going to happen, what does it mean? It means that companies have to be ready. It also means, can I realize tomorrow's future today? When we have been talking about information, we are talking about internet, we are talking about IoT, a lot of things are being discussed. But to me, IoT or in business, they're one of the pillars, not all the pillars, because definitely they drive the situation. Information technology is helping us, but does it mean that is it ultimate? No. What is important thing is corporate reaction, corporate outlook, corporate philosophy, and corporate response time. The important thing which I realized in my own corporate life as well as now in the academic space, two things. Whether the organization is prepared for this disruption, whether the stakeholders are aware of the disruption, whether the stakeholders are committed to meet the challenges of disruption, whether the team is ready to face this, whether we have sufficient tools and tackles to answer these things. Most important thing is readiness. Readiness in terms of delivering, readiness in terms of the challenges, readiness in terms of coming out of this, and most important thing is stand alone. How do I stand alone? Can I build my brand reputation and brand management? Because today's biggest challenge is maintaining brand reputation and brand management. Because in all these, some of the companies, I'm not here to talk much about it, where we talked about some of the companies were there in 90s are not there in 2000, 2000 not there in 2010, 2010 not there in 2018. We really do not know how the business models are going to be. So what is important for us is to understand this. And I'm sure my colleagues who are all experts in the domain area will definitely share their experiences, their models, their strategies. Because to understand the strategies is very important in the changing market dynamic. Market is no longer a fluid. Market is moving much faster than each one of us think of. Probably by the time we go to the room, some new things may happen. And if these new things happen, am I prepared? What does it mean? There's two different words I thought of sharing with you. One is, how do I differentiate between the risk and the opportunity? Risk. Am I prepared to take that risk? If I'm prepared to take that risk, does it risk give me an opportunity, or that risk is going to take me to a threat? Now, that means, more importantly, research is going to play a dominant role in the business models. Therefore, the organizations are required to equip themselves in terms of their own research capabilities, in understanding consumer behavior, in understanding customer behavior, in understanding competitive analysis, and in understanding what we call is the global environment. And I'm sure all these things are going to come up during the discussion. This, on behalf of my chairman, Sri Ashok Saraf, and on my behalf of faculty colleagues, on behalf of DSIMS, sir, we welcome each one of you for this excellent marketing conclave that is being organized. Before I conclude, I just want to wish all my faculty colleagues and students who have come here, happy 2009. Be prepared to meet the challenges of disruption and leverage the disruption so that your career becomes a fruitful career. Thank you very much.
Now, we would like to call upon stage our keynote speaker, Mr. Amit Abhyankar, to enlighten the audience with some words of wisdom. Sir, the stage is all yours.
Morning, friends. Sir, I'm just a senior colleague to you all. So, absolute pleasure to be here in this institute. And an honor which I received over here was getting a bouquet from the hands of Dr. Konda. I can't tell you how pleased I am being a student 21 years back and now sharing the days with him, or being a co-panelist is a touching moment. So, thanks Ruchika for inviting me, because when she said keynote speaker, I was really a little worried, because I travel very frequently and I was supposed to be doing some business in Bangalore till last night. And then I said that, in that case, if I was supposed to come here in the morning, you know how it is in Bangalore. Like, I don't know how many of you are from Bangalore, but from anywhere you are in town to reach the airport is 2 hours, okay? The flight is 2 hours, and then coming over here, 5 hours. I said, God knows at what time we'll have to wake up and take a flight. So I said, spare me the keynote speaking, I'll just sit on the panel over here. But she insisted. So I said, okay. Unfortunately, I was able to return on the night before and not yesterday. So I was very relaxed when I came here in the morning. In fact, I was able to share a cup of tea with the dignitaries over here. Dr. Babu, thank you so much for inviting us. So it's indeed a challenge to speak when you have, so many distinguished panelists over here. All of them are industry experts, and faculty are experts in their own domain. So obviously, whatever I'm going to say over here cannot be just glib talk, which me as a sales guy I'm used to giving. Been practicing sales for a very long time. But mind you very well, sales is not all talking. It's not at all talking. On the contrary, I always remind myself, God has given me 2 ears and 1 mouth, and I must use it in that proportion. Listen more, talk less. That's a sales guy for you. But as a keynote speaker, I cannot use that logic, right? I have to talk. So I'm not going to run any slideshow. That is just one single slide over there. I'm sorry my co-panelists cannot see that, because that's an interesting slide on which I wanted your vision as well. But don't focus there right now. I'm talking, right? I'm sure in management you would have learned the IDA theory. Grab the attention, arouse the interest, kindle the desire, okay, and prompt action. So just look at me right now, because I'm going to say something before you can understand that. That's very vital. I think Professor Ruchika has already set the tone correctly by describing what is disruption. Any development, and need not be a technological evolution. Any development which can potentially uproot an existing product, existing service, existing market, and replace it with something else, that is disruption. So will necessarily a technological innovation do that? No. If you look at the top left corner, I've used some marketing jargon, because I'm addressing students, so you all are very familiar with these terms. So the pest factor, the political, regulatory, legal environment, the economic environment, the social environment, the technological environment are the uncontrolled variables. They're going on their own. They're happening on their own. We as marketers cannot control them. They're beyond my control. So when that's happening, if they are going to introduce anything which is going to be majorly disruptive, then please remember one thing, they are going to disrupt you. That is going to happen. The only way I can either save myself, okay, from getting blown to oblivion, or leveraging it, coming on top of it, and becoming an evolved leader on that, the only thing I need to do is have a strategic acceptance. And Dr. Kondap has already laid the foundation for that also. He said, is the management keen to do that in the first place? Are you really wanting to do that? Or are you happy the way the business is going? One fine day some disruption may come and you will be blown to smithereens, and that's it, you're happy with it. Of course not. Most of the large brands are so possessive about their brands that they will not want it to die a sudden death. And hence, they will definitely want to do everything possible to face disruption and to leverage it. I will not use the word manage. Managing disruption reminds me of a term called as manage adaptive decline, MAD. It's a very dangerous thing, We've all seen the movie Titanic. It was there when I was a student, and till now it's a very popular movie, you can see it. When the Titanic starts sinking completely, is there any point in rearranging the chairs on the deck? You might be the best manager of doing that, but what's the point? The ship is sinking. We'll have to think differently, completely out of the box, and still not only stay afloat, but to travel that distance and reach where you were supposed to. So for that, the objective has to be clear. I'll be very mindful of the time that I've got 20 minutes, I've already taken 10. Now for the remaining 10 minutes, I will have some takeaways for you. Please listen to this very carefully, because the theme of this entire discourse is leveraging disruption. Which means, what is the number one thing that we have got to learn over here? Disruption is definitely going to happen. Stop using the word if disruption happens. Start using the word when disruption happens. It completely changed our mindset towards it. You'll start looking at it as if it's a certainty and I need to be prepared for that. Second point. If you are not the disruptor, that means one of the founders of Alibaba, one of the founders of Amazon, one of the founders of Uber, if you are not the disruptor, then who are you? The disrupted. Definitely you will be the disrupted one. Definitely you will be affected by the disruption these people will bring. And then what happens? Are you prepared to face it? Well, it's not so much about you as an individual, but the organization. And when do you think organizations are capable of leveraging disruption? First and foremost, all the panelists will agree over here that it has to be a boardroom agenda. Oh, this is such a often talked term. Make it a boardroom agenda. What does it mean? It means simple. Is the CEO paying attention to it? Does he have his mind share on this particular topic? Is he giving you 10 minutes in a week to talk about this? Yeah, then it's a boardroom agenda. Is the board of directors having it as a point of agenda when they meet once in a month or once in a quarter, whatever? Yes, then it's a boardroom agenda. And why should it be a boardroom agenda? Very simple. I've got 3 points over here. A disruption can come heavily, exponentially, like a meteor. You'll never have time to even see it. It'll just come and land on you. And how is it going to impact you? Simple. Impact your corporate negatively, impact your customers negatively, and impact existing or potential competitors positively. So see, 2 negatives, 1 positive, but that's very dangerous. Me negative, my customers negative, my competition positive. Definitely the board needs to be cognizant of this. And if the board is cognizant of this, what will the board do? Invest money, invest time, pay attention, have a proper framework so that ultimately you can leverage disruption. And now you can turn your attention to that slide. This is a framework using which you can actually leverage disruption, which is a starting point. The center, the core. What is the core reading? Okay, it is saying run and grow. The business as usual, this is what you're doing, right? You're having your operations, you're having a production, you're having a marketing, you're having a finance. Everything is going like a clockwork. Is disruption happening? These people don't know. The factory workers don't know. Your sales managers don't know. They're busy meeting their targets. Okay? They don't have a time to think about disruption. They're busy executing run and grow, run and grow, run and grow strategies. Then whose job is it? Please have empowered, talented people in your organization which can form 2 different teams. Move to the top left corner. Visibility, gain visibility. You can protect yourself from any calamity only if you can see it. If you can't see a calamity, you cannot protect yourself because it's invisible to you. And that's the reason why we are afflicted with illnesses, right? You drank a glass of water, throat infection ho gaya. Why? Because you did not see the virus in that glass. Had you seen something, had you seen some particles floating in that glass, you would have definitely filtered it. So what does it mean? Very simple. For anyone to take any action, the visibility has to be there. So what is the recommendation number 1? Simple. Gain visibility. So how do I gain visibility? Have a high-flying team. A great team, smart guys, young guys like y'all, okay? And I'll be depending on y'all, okay? Maybe you have a job in my organization. I'm not talking on behalf of my HR. I'm just making a simple statement that we want young, energetic people who can gain visibility into the market, constantly look at the best factors, not in India, globally, APAC, Australia, North America, Europe, wherever, and identify trends. There are trends coming. There are trends happening. People are having changed habits. They are using their mobile phones differently. They are using their laptops differently. Okay, they are traveling differently. They are flying differently. They are having different behaviors on the airport. Monitor that, measure that, and find out whether there are trends which can be clearly called as trends. Number 1. Okay, I have identified trends. There is a sharp team over there which has identified trends. Number 2, what do? Can I measure this trend? Is there a momentum in that trend? What do you mean by momentum? Basic science would have taught you what is momentum. What is momentum? Mass into velocity. That is momentum. So what is mass over here? If more and more people are adopting that trend, I will say mass is building. And if this trend is being adopted rapidly, that is velocity. So mass, velocity, momentum. So you understood what is momentum of a trend, right? So the trend could be coming at you at a galloping pace. It may not be crawling towards you. It is coming towards you at a galloping pace. It will hit you and you will never know you were hit. You will be just finished, right? So I have a team over there doing that, gain visibility. What is its job? Outward focus. They are a part of my organization, but they are trying to find out what's happening in the external world. Then move to the top right corner of yours. Detect and assess. What is this team? A panel of people, okay, empowered, again sharp minds within the organization, and trying to say, okay, my gain visibility team, trend spotters, have shown me these 5 trends which are emerging. They have a good momentum. Now I need to understand whether they are impacting me also and my organization also. What is my organizational ecosystem? Number 1, my employees. Number 2, my customers. Number 3, my partners, my suppliers, my vendors, so on and so forth. Are they also picking up this trend? Are they also changing their behavior of the business and personal behaviors, okay, to adapt to these trends? Then it's going to impact me, right? So detect and assess has a very important job to do. Trend spotting has been done from the external environment. Detect and assess is happening within your environment. It is saying, yes, this is definitely going to affect you. Number 2. And then what? Obviously, the message has to percolate down. Every week, board meetings, every quarter, board meetings. Ensure that the CEO is paying attention to you. Ensure that the MD, chairman, is paying attention to you. Yes, trends have been spotted, and we are very sure that these trends are not only being accepted and adopted by our customers and competitors, and we are likely to be impacted by them. Come down to the bottom left corner. Strategic response. It's not for you and me to decide alone that how am I going to respond to a changing trend, a changing pattern, or a potential disruption. It has to be a strategic think tank. And see what I've entered over there. R&D, human capital, okay, investments, your investors, everybody will have to pump in their efforts, their mind share, and say, okay, now we need to give a strategic response to this potential disruption. Let us evolve our products. Let us evolve the way we deliver service. Let us evolve the way we bill our customers, whatever it is. The strategic response will be a measured response, okay? And you have to continuously monitor. Yes, the change in the response is definitely having the expected result. Then I move to the bottom right corner. That is talking about evolving as a leader. Why? That's very important. Because if disruption is going to happen, I do not want to be at the bottom of the heap. I want to be at the top of the heap. I do not want to be an also ran, but I want to be a leader. Maybe number 2 is okay, no problem. Number 3, okay, no problem. But definitely at the top of the heap. And for that, to evolve as a leader, what am I supposed to do? Whatever strategic response have been suggested, which could be in change of your operations, change of your service patterns, okay? Now you start putting that into a business as usual practice. Make it a BAU and give it back to the central core. What is the central core? Run and grow. Now it has become business as usual. You have your usual regular managers, you have your regular operations, okay? Now they have understood what this strategic response is, what the change model is. They put it into practice, they run and grow. The cycle kind of gets completed. But remember, it's a cycle. You can't really stop over there because disruption can still be on the horizon through different trends. And I go back to the top left corner, okay? Gain visibility. So it's a continuous process. Gain visibility, detect and assess whether it is affecting you. Decide on your strategic response, evolve as a leader, give it back to the business as usual operations. And if you use this, then one of the possibilities is you will be able to leverage the disruption. Dr. Gondap once again used a correct statement. I was just making notes as he was talking. There are 2 things. You get an opportunity. Every time you get an opportunity in your life, whether it's an opportunity for a career or anywhere, there is also some risk associated, right? And we are sometimes guarded on the risk. There is a splendid opportunity, but it might be unsettling. There is a splendid opportunity, but it might mean me traveling or being located in another city. Is it worth it? Should I take that risk? So if opportunity comes with risk, isn't the opposite true? Won't risks come with opportunities? Yes, these trends may be risk for me. They may impact me. So what? Have a keen eye, find out what's the opportunity over there, and have the heart to go and grab it. So if you look at and if you understand this model, I have tried to keep it very simple. One thing I had reminded myself was I'm not going to run any PowerPoint presentation, but sometimes, as I say, a picture is better than 1,000 words. I use that philosophy and I said, while I'm talking this, okay, a lot will be left to your imagination. And really, 15 minutes is not a time when I can tingle your imagination. I need 3 hours for that. And if you give me 3 hours, yeah, I can do that. I don't need this. But given only 15 minutes, yes, I wanted to do this. So your focus should be there. Understand the model, okay? And as we progress to the panel discussion, I'm sure we will be able to talk more about it. But I guess with this, I kind of, set the agenda saying disruption is bound to be there. Do not say if disruption happens, say when disruption happens. Decide internally that I will not be the disrupted. But if I'm not sharp enough and entrepreneurial enough to be the disruptor, then at least let me be, someone who can leverage on this disruption and emerge as a leader. If these 3 or 4 things, if you can take away from this, I'm pretty sure that meeting in this early morning on a Saturday and sitting through this 3-hour session will be really worthwhile. With this, I conclude. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. We learned so much here. Few things that I will like to take away with me is a salesperson should listen more and talk less. Having a strategic acceptance towards disruption and changing the mindset towards disruption. Having proper framework to leverage disruption. Evolving, adapting and monitoring new trends and so much more.
Thank you everyone for your kind patience. Now, we would like to commence with our panel discussion.
Good morning, everyone. My dear faculty members and my students, this gives great pleasure to be with 6 luminaries here, and all of them are from different organizations. So we're going to have a very good perspective. The topic today, leveraging disruption. Well, I would take 1 minute. I was going through one of the talks of Mohandas Pai. Mohandas Pai was the Chief Finance Officer of Infosys. So he was speaking about investing disruption. I thought that for me it was incomprehensible to visualize. He says in few years' time, you decide to buy a car and you decide where to go, the showroom. You go there, the salesperson is showing you different types and from the entry point to the top end. You decide your model and then you are taken inside to a place. You press the button, right? Your car is getting ready through 3D printer. Friends, this is not going to be a dream. This is going to be a reality, and in few years' time, this is going to happen. Flip this 50 years before, when I was a child, when my neighbor wanted to buy a car, he had to go all the way to the showroom, book the car, and he had to wait for 1 full year. And did he have a choice? No, he didn't have a choice. So disruption is a buzzword today, and we have our enlightened speakers. So I'm going to talk to each one, because except Amit, others, we couldn't have a chance to talk to them, hear them. So my question to all the panelists here, I'm going to talk about ask you your perspective about disruption. Individually, what is your perspective on disruption? And then one disruption that is closer to your heart. So what is disruption for you, right? And one disruption that, that stays very closer to heart. So to begin with, kindly take about 2 to 3 minutes each one. Then we move on. We roll the discussion. So each one would take 2 to 3 minutes, and they talk about their perspective. To begin with, Mr. Rajiv, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Babu. I want to start by asking, how many of you heard the acronym VUCA? V-U-C-A. V for U. And I'm sure you know the C and A. And that is exactly what has happened in the Indian context with regard to the payments in the last 2.5 years. Ever since demonetization, the disruption in the payment space has been profound, and I want to paint a picture of what it has done and how it has impacted all of us sitting here and across the country. You know, we have 990 million debit cards, 42 million credit cards in India as of September. And thanks to the government and the regulators, all these cards have been delivered to customers across the country through all the banking channels. But what is the use of having all these cards and with no place to spend? That was the challenge. Flashback 2016, the total number of acceptance locations in India for using a debit card or a credit card was 1.3 million locations. And most of these were concentrated in cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Chennai. Once you leave these cities, there is hardly any acceptance of digital payments, whether it is debit cards, credit cards, or any other payments. Thanks to demonetization and all the things that the regulators and the governments did in the past 2 years, you'll be surprised to note, last year, the number of acceptance locations where one could use the cards, both physically as well as online, increased from 1.3 million to 3 million locations, more than double. And this year, you'll be happy to know we are going to close the year with 5 million locations. And most of the growth in acceptance for digital payments has come from tier 2 and 3 cities and not the metros, like the way it was before. So 5 million, let me paint the kind of disruption that has happened in the last 2.5 years with regard to acceptance. One, it has gone into tier 2 and 3 cities so that all the people in all these small towns and villages who have got a payment instrument can use their cards, not just at the 230,000 ATMs, but at point of sale locations and online. The second thing that has happened, apart from the growth, 4-time growth of acceptance locations, online payments. I don't know how many of you know and read, of late it is coming out in the press, the online payments, which is primarily us using our cards on the Amazons and the Flipkarts of the world, has more than increased than the physical space. More than 50% of the total digital spends are now in the online space, not in the physical space, which primarily means more and more of us are using our cards to shop online rather than face-to-face. We call this card not present and card present transactions. So that is the second disruption that has happened, which is wonderful. And the third one, which is a very, very recent trend in the past year, this 2018, has been the growth of contactless transactions. I don't know how many of you have performed one, which is primarily a transaction where you don't have to give the card to the shopkeeper, but the shopkeeper enters the amount and then you tap and go. On the card that you have in your wallet, you'll see a wireless logo on the card. If that is there, which means that card is enabled for contactless transactions. That has grown 8 times this year. And believe it or not, in the next 2 to 3 years, we are investing big time in this. You will see a lot of us doing contactless transactions and not a chip and pin contact transaction or online transaction. Online will continue to be there, but you will see a lot of the face-to-face contact transaction where you see a point of sale machine, you'll be tapping and going. So 3 disruptions I just highlighted, and I'll give it back to Dr. Babu.
Thank you, Mr. Rajiv. Well, let me go to Mr. Ravikant. He is from ad agency. Background. So, Mr. Ravikant, again, my question is same. What is your perspective about disruption, and one disruption that is closer to your heart, please?
Hi, good morning, everybody. Quite delighted to see so many of you early morning coming here. So, one big round of applause for all the DSMS students. Also, quite delighted to meet one of our, ex-interns here. I don't know where she is, Azma. So if that's the, yeah, there she is. So if that's the quality of students here, I think your careers are set. So, this is really good. Okay, so let me share a few about the advertising industry. As some of you might be aware, maybe all of you, advertising industry has gone a sea change, especially in the last few years. Some of the macro trends in the advertising industry, with the onset of digital, the impact of television has significantly reduced. There is an extremely high double-digit growth that digital media has seen over the last few years. Advertising agencies have now started following a schizophrenic approach. So earlier you had ad agencies which would do media as well as creative, and then they started splitting. So you had media agencies, which was different, and then creative agencies different. Now, some ways, though they still remain different, and some of them have come back to integrated. But having said that, there is a very, very serious penetration of digital all across. Now, how does that impact brands, marketeers? So let me share with you a few examples. So earlier, brands which were in the zone of sales, in the zone of between 1 crore and about 50 crore odd, I'm talking about the sales of the company or sales of a particular brand. They would find it very difficult to advertise on television, because on television, if you are a national brand, the minimum that you need to spend is upwards of 5 crore odd to make any meaningful impact. Having said that, so what do what do smaller brands do, or what do local or regional brands do? Digital has given a great mechanism for them to leverage that. So currently, let's say we're working on a brand which is about 100 crore brand, which is on the verge of where we might be able to start using television for them. But if they've not done advertising in the past, how do we leverage that? So here's the plan, and see how beautifully it works with this new disruption that has come about, and how brands are able to leverage this disruption in the media industry. So it's a disruption in another industry, which is the media industry, and see how this cookware brand, which is about 100 crore odd, we are planning to go entirely digital for the first 2 years. Now, with the kind of penetration that digital provides, and let me give you one data point. What is the percentage of vernacular adoption on digital, on your Facebooks and Googles? What is the percentage of vernacular in comparison with English? Any quick numbers? So 2 to 5%. So, well, the answer is that vernacular has already more than a year back exceeded English on digital platforms. So that's the extent of disruption which has already come about. When Jio got launched in September 2016, and the kind of rates that they offered, the entire telecom sector changed entirely. And you're seeing some bits and pieces in terms of mergers and acquisitions that have happened. So on the consumer side, what has happened is a very, very large number of semi-urban and rural consumers have a mobile device in their hand. And it's not just WhatsApp, it's Google, it's Facebook, it's Instagram. And I don't know how many of us notice over here, there's a small mic button that comes next to, in every search bar and so on and so forth. So people are not typing, they have straight away gone to voice. So there are these kind of disruptions that are happening. So what we do now as a brand, there's this 100 crore brand, we have signed up a large celebrity. The celebrity, I'll give you some numbers so you have some indications. The celebrity is charging us about 1 crore odd for a period of 2 years that she's going to give us. Now, and she's going to give us a day for each of these 2 years. Now, we use the celebrity's imagery for the brand, and we go extremely gung-ho on 2 fronts. One is digital, and the other is storefronts and in-store collateral and packaging. The moment that happens, when consumers are already buying a few million pieces of those products on a regular basis, on an annual basis, that's the exposure where I multiply the exposure of the brand in association with a celebrity, and which is getting an air cover through digital. And that's how brands have started to leverage this new disruption that has happened in the media industry. A few of the other ones that I'll quickly share with you. Let's say, again, sometimes these are at larger levels, sometimes these are at smaller levels, and now you guys are embarking on the journey. So, maybe you're not going to, you could be entrepreneurs, so you'll be your own chairman and directors, and but let's say if it's a large corporate, it is going to take you a few years. So until then, what are the kind of disruptions that you are going to face? So one example that I'll quickly leave you with, and I want you to understand closely. The disruption could be as simple as your boss leaving the job. Okay, and you worked with the boss for 2 years. You don't know, now who's going to be your boss and so on and so forth. A simple thing to do could be if you take up that role yourself, if you become indispensable, if you move up the ladder. So there's a lot of things that you at this juncture can do to cause disruption and to be a part of that, to make things happen. All right, guys, that's it for me.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ravikant. I have a few gentlemen on my right-hand side. At that end, Mr. Sanjay Banerjee, CEO of Digital Advertising Tech. I could see his card. It's something interesting. I thought I would share this with you. His degrees are longer than his name. BSc, DBM, some of them I don't understand honestly. DEIM, DPM and IR, DMM and SM, and MBA, and Six Sigma Green Belt. So that is Sanjay for you. Sanjay, what is your perspective on disruption?
We basically are a digital advertising company, and my perspective, I'll limit it to 3 minutes as you told. Before 2 days back, there was a meeting, and can anyone tell you, like all of you are in the marketing profession, I think, and what was it about? Fast. There was a meeting in US, and what was it all about? No? Excellent. Sundar Pichai was called in the US Congress. So one takeaway, an Indian was heading Google. I mean, it's a very big achievement for us. Second, every company has to be transparent. Every company has to, leverage itself, but not at the cost of privacy, etc. And that was one of the points which was discussed. I suggest all of you, please go and watch that video, because you will learn a lot from that video, what you will not learn in the entire lifetime. Now, what is closer to our heart, to my heart, is basically the online space. We have been, working with various digital channels. Now, one thing I would like to ask you is, how many of you, have a smartphone and you keep on seeing the notifications? One is Instagram or one is Facebook. Anybody? You don't watch right? Now, what exactly these companies are doing? Already maybe 10 notifications have already come right now. But the interface will only show you 3 notifications. And the 7, they will show you all across at the end of the day. You know that tab, you are wasting your life. That is one disruption which you have to take care of. And the other disruption, what we have been working on is understanding mainly the top technology company, that is Google. So how exactly the search works, how to come on search, and etc. So basically, like in short, there are more than 20 parameters by which you can come on the search results on google.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjay. Well, well taken. I think you're quite distant. So I have friends, Ms. Rachna, on my left side. But before handing over, I have a small note. I was one of the panelists like this, and in that panel discussion, we had one lady, Chief HRO of TCS. So the moderator was moderating. So the moment, he started the session, he said, the lady is here. So, I would like to give this to the lady. and she took objection. She said, no, I don't want any preference just because I'm a lady, and it should come by random and chance, right? So, Ms. Ranjana, I think this comes to you by random and chance, right? Your perspective on disruption.
So, thank you so much, Dr. Babu. And so are you able to hear me? Yeah. So, elaborating on what Professor Ruchika said, that 20% of the top executives believe that their future competition is not on the radar, which means that disruption is going to be the order of the day. And leveraging disruptions is not a choice, it's a need. And I would like to put a narrative behind this entire story of how we have gone through a sea change. So digital is resetting the old vocabulary. It is ushering in the new verbiage. 20 years back, if we spoke about native, it just meant from where you belong. And 20 years hence, when we talk of the word native, it has surpassed everybody's imagination of what it is bringing on the table. Siloed approach is a past, be it the network or be it the connectivity. People, places, things, all are connected with Internet of Things today. Services and applications are being rendered from the cloud.
Teachers!
And cloud native is the new incredible. Giving edge, and this is what is giving edge to the Amazons and the Netflixes of the world when it comes to speed, scale, and costs. So you will see native moving on to a new verbiage called cloud native. And if I bring this in, and if I contextualize native to a consumer behavior, it gives rise to digital natives, which is refreshing because citizens is a restricting and a dividing word, wherein digital native puts everything together and puts a united front. And revalidating this is the VNI report, which says that the devices on which we will be connected on the IP networks will be 3 times of the global populace in next 5 years, which gives rise to a new phenomena called digital natives. So you will see the shift from a native to a digital native to a cloud native. And this is the transformation we are going through. This is the transition we are going through, and this is going to be important because it is going to be at the core of the fact that disruption is an imperative today, and we will need to ensure that we don't see it as a choice but a need as an industry. And elucidating on my favorite disruption, of course, it would be the service provider scenario disruption in India, and why it is important. And as an Indian to me is because it is the service provider disruption today which has brought India to a point where from 156th in mobile broadband penetration, now we are the #1 country in mobile broadband consumption. So that's fine.
Thank you, Ms. Rachna. We have Manoj Verma from Lyra Networks. I had some good moments with Manoj because I was writing a case study about Lyra Networks. He is sort of a wizard and expert on marketing. Manoj, your take on disruption and your perspective.
I would say, hello? Yeah, hello? Yeah. So I would say disruption is not a, term which we say that, what is disruption? But disruption is common and, has become very common because, environment is changing very fast in all the segments, be technology, because the generation is moving very fast. So every day there is disruption, and psychologically the reaction that we have to do to this change, we have to react very fast. So disruption is everywhere, so disruption has become a very common. It is part of life now. It is part of everyday life now. Our ability to react should be very fast. That is what we are saying. In our times, maybe 20 years back, country was moving very slow. Because globally, things were similar. There was a speed at which everybody was moving. But today, speed at which people are moving, and things are changing in every seconds. The expectation has changed now, and the way we react, we have to, as a student and as an individual, in fact, we have to make ourselves ready to every change. Be it positive, be it negative. So that is very important. So the way we think has to change completely now. That is what we are saying. And one of the best disruptions that has happened for me, one of my favorite, is access to internet. Is one of the very important change that has happened. Because all the 6 people sitting here, I think everyone is dependent on internet. Internet access to internet was able to create millions of jobs. That is what we are saying. Millions of jobs got created only because of access to internet. Because of access to internet, we have this digital channel has come in. So there is digital marketing. In earlier days, there was no digital marketing concept. There was no digital concept. It was mostly TV, offline, outdoor. But because of access, we are doing more online marketing, and people are able to consume data. So mostly access to internet, and especially I would say what Geo could do. It has enabled every individual with access to data. That was very important. Earlier days, if you see the other traditional telecom operators, we had issues. It was internet was like gold, right? Every day, we will switch on mobile data on and use Wi-Fi, etc., etc. And it was restricted. Technology was available, but it was very restricted. It was not available to the masses. So this is the biggest disruption that has happened, and because of this, we could say 1000x business growth has come, and opportunity has got created, and millions of jobs are getting created because of this internet access. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Manoj. So Amit, you gave in your talk, you spoke about disruption. Quick, 1 minute observation about disruption from your side.
Yeah. The basic question I would like to address is one of my most favorite disruptions. And what is favorite for you? Anything that affects you in a positive or a negative way is what you tend to remember. So if there is a phenomena called as what's in it for me, then I will have some attention towards it. So one of the disruptions which I very positively looked at was demonetization. I don't know how many of you all will hate me over here for saying that, because many went through a lot of pain, but trust me, I was working in an organization where people were cursing demonetization. That's fine. Some of the elite were like, no, the government is right. And, within the campus, there were ATMs, and everybody used to be waiting for the ATMs to be fed with currency notes hungrily like wolves, And, of course, being corporate guys, they used to always stand in a very proper queue and get money. Now, while that disruption was something which I innately was trying to understand, that can I leverage on? And yes, being a guy from cybersecurity, I didn't have to wait for the next opportunity. After being cashless, the next big thing that India and Indians had to do was to go on digital payments. Start using your cards, as Rajiv has already said. Start using Paytm, start using Ola Money, whatever. And what did that do? It raised the security concerns. And the moment security concerns go up, my business doubled, tripled in that particular 2 years. I leveraged, right? And it's interesting to note that India is one of those few countries, and I'm going to take it offline with Rajiv definitely, that I've heard so far, I am not too sure about it, that India is one of the only few countries in the world where actually card-based transactions happen with two-factor authentication. So what does it mean? You have a password, which you use, and then an OTP comes to you, right? So 2 factors of authentication, kind of a foolproof mechanism that you are the one who is intending to do the transaction, and hence it should be authenticated. Same time, we came up with a beautiful concept which I'll just explain in 30 seconds. Now, when you put in security, the problem with security is very simple. If I go to the airport, okay, they'll frisk me at the entrance, they'll frisk me before boarding the plane, they'll frisk me everywhere. 3, 4, 5 layers, okay, people get irritated. Some of them also, they don't like, being frisked like that, okay. So what does it mean? While everybody accepts the fact that security is good for me, you do not want to go through that. The other can go through that, right? I don't want to go. Every time Shah Rukh is made to go through that security frisking in US, it becomes headlines. Why? Everybody needs to be frisked, right? So what is the point I'm trying to make? If you put security barriers and security layers, people know that they are being secure, but they don't enjoy that. We call that in marketing as user experience. User experience goes down. In order to increase your transactional security, I can go from 2-factor authentication to 3-factor, 4-factor, whatever, which means foolproof. You will never be having fraudulent transactions ever. But who's going to go through 4 steps? As it is, 2 steps are bad enough. You are waiting for the OTP to come, then you will put the OTP, okay? Then you have to switch between 2 screens. OTP bhi dekho, either number bhi dalo. It's a pain, right? So it goes on like that. So what we do, we came up with something called as risk-based authentication, which meant that the software will allow the machine, that is a mobile phone, to learn your behavior. I get my salary on 1st of the month. By 2nd of the month, I have transferred the money to my family members, to this, to that, to that. 6 months. Behavior is learnt. 7th month onwards, okay, my application, whether it is a Kotak Bank, ICICI Bank, SBI Bank, whatever, if it has implemented risk-based authentication, it will allow those transactions as if this is what the user always does. But the moment I have done one transaction from Mumbai airport, done a transaction, okay, then switched it off, taken a flight, gone to Dubai, after 4.5 hours, I again start my mobile, I want to do a transaction, it will say no. This transaction has now emanated from a different geography, and hence I must put in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th factor of authentication. So what is done is very simple. If it's a known user behavior, allow the transaction. If it's an unknown user behavior, 2nd, 3rd, 4th factor of authentication, and I'm sure everybody accepts that. So Dr. Babu, just to kind of conclude, I think one of the best disruptions which I enjoyed in my life, okay, has been demonetization. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Amit. I'm going to ask, one question. Maybe a couple of speakers would pick up. That is about change management. But before getting into that, let me tell you, all of them put together, they have 100+ years of experience. Many of them are working in, well-established companies. So, gentlemen and a lady, my question to you is about change management. See, when we talk about change management, embracing the technology. For example, the word, the mobile phone, BlackBerry, is a cliche. In every panel discussion, the panelist would say, BlackBerry was considered to be the business phone, and iPhone was considered to be a fun phone. And where is BlackBerry today? Thanks to the technology, it's no more. So, my question to you, change management, what are the occasions where, you have gone through this change management within your organization? Now, the reaction of the top management and the reaction of the people just below. You have some anecdote for your story, to add your story of your, embracing the technology, or you miss the bus, right? Something, quickly. I think a couple of speakers could pick up your story. I leave it to them. This is open. Who would like to take this? Yeah?
I'll share 2 experiences. One is from within Eckfirst, and the other is what we were doing for a client of ours. So let me start with the client. So when TCS acquired Citigroup Global Services Limited for $500 million, and this is right across at Goregaon, one of the big things that one has to do when there's a huge acquisition is there's going to be organizations, departments which are going to get aligned. Maybe some people will lose their jobs, maybe some people will lose their designations, roles will get redefined. So for this change management, one of the important things that the organization had done, and we have seen very many organizations do that, is do some very serious amount of communication to people at all levels. And this does not include, like I said, only the senior management and the operational heads. So this communication made sure that people got the message in terms of what are the kind of changes to expect, what is the change that's going to be happening in what period of time. And this entire change communication, believe me, took 2 years. And after this 2 years of change management, including this change communication happened, then the last communication went that now we are completely integrated. So I think communication is one of the important pieces. Second is in terms of change, it is truly real that if the organization is large and if there are people who've been there for many years, they will not accept change very easily. So as a senior, at whatever level you are, whether within your team or whether you are a part of senior management or you're yourself a CEO, founder, whatever, you have to drive change with a sledgehammer. You have to make it happen because at the end of the day, you're responsible for results. So use whatever tools you can in terms of communications and in terms of making sure the processes are reasonably defined before you get into the change management. But as a senior, you have to cut across and make sure that that change happens.
Thank you, Mr. Ravikant. Anyone? Yeah.
I just mentioned VUCA, right? And I'll give an example. I'll bring it to life as to what actually happened in 2018 in MasterCard world, in my life, my company's life. Starting same time last year, there was so much of disruption and volatility and change hitting us from all sides, Doctor. I keep giving this example to my regional and global folks when I meet them, and I tell them, can you believe we had 30 to 35 inbound disruptions which were not generated by us? This is government changing pricing. It is the regulators changing rules and regulations. It is market, which is merchants, customers are established banks asking us for support. RFPs, we had practically 14 to 15 requests for proposals from the likes of the largest retailers and the biggest merchants, all of them coming back to back, and sometimes in a flood, 3 or 4 things hitting us on a particular day. Change of the highest order, challenge of the highest order. And as I just heard the word, communication, both internal, regional, as well as global, wherever we needed support from, was very important to secure that support, to get things done, and to keep motivation levels of my own team. There are breakdowns within my team. The 2-3 people said, I've got low blood pressure, high blood pressure, I cannot do this, because that was the kind of disruption and change that we were forced to adopt. But we did, we thrived, and I can tell you we had a wonderful year at the end of it. So many times you're very young, you have to be ready for things that you have not planned for, things that you did not imagine, but you'll be forced to adopt to and still come out successful. Would you like to add?
Before 3 years back, we were doing drop shipping. Drop shipping is a way like where you set up systems and processes whereby you buy products maybe from one country and you are selling in other country. So we were doing it like from China to US, and in that transit, what happens is we are not in touch with the product. We have not seen the product, but it's a system and the process which is working at the back end. And then we had problems. We had literal problems with some customers. And then since I am the entrepreneur who is responsible, like I told, I think this might not be a good business model, because if we have an own office in China, it's okay. We can sell in US, but that's not the case. And there were many people in the company like who were saying, "Arey, sab log kar raha hai, sir. Problem kya hai? Everybody is doing it in India. Everybody is doing it in other countries. Why not me?" Then I said, let's go slow and let us better, stop it till we maybe, when after 3-4 years we have an office in China, we'll do it. And it was good decision, because after another 1 year, PayPal declared. PayPal is basically the official, payment channel, and they declared that this thing is illegal, and they stopped all the payments of all the vendors, of all the merchants who were doing this. So, my takeaway is, when disruption is happening, like, look at it, you will get the signs before that. Like, what exactly is happening? And then take a step and be bold and go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sanjay. I'm moving on to my next question. This is about entrepreneurship and startup, because at DSIMS we have finally a good entrepreneurship, department. Professor Nilesh is going to have a lot of activities. So, gentlemen and the lady, this question is about the entrepreneurship and the startup opportunities are being offered, because of the technological disruption. So, I would like to ask Ms. Rachna, what is your take on the entrepreneurial opportunities, especially in India, for a lot of youngsters, because of this technological disruption?
I would call it more of combinatorial disruption, and I think the success of it lies within the organizations which have to now behave with a startup mentality more than anything. I think that it is important and integral for every organization who's thriving in the disrupted world today to have 4 key things in place when they move into this aspect of a startup mentality. Their structure has to be in place. Their strategy is the first thing. So their strategy has to be clear in terms of the current market scenario. Their structure has to be aligned to the strategy that they are talking about. People are going to be at the core of taking this forward, and processes, if they are set, will be underlying phenomena which will actually take this entire startup scenario to the next level. So I think it's true, and I think to remain relevant, to stay in the game, it is extremely important, to address this combinatorial disruption and have an attitude of a startup. That's my own.
Thank you, Rachna. Well, I'm tweaking this question a bit. This is for Amit and then Manoj. Amit, you could, zero down to a couple of startups, you think or you admired. You admired their vision and you admired the manner in which they have utilized this disruption. Can we have your views on few startups?
Definitely a lot of examples that could be given. Of late, if you look at it, and I'm a little sorry for the fact that my examples are likely to be from my domain, because they will come more easily to me. The moment cybersecurity became the buzzword 2-3 years back, and globally it was being accepted as the next big wave where technological innovations would happen and people might want to invest. So if you look at the entire spectrum of how entrepreneurs have jumped into this, I can remember and name one startup by the name of Net Monastery, which has, at the recently concluded NASSCOM event in Delhi, won the award for the best product, and it is a very, very homegrown Indian company. And let me tell you why I would like to mention that, for the simple reason that in the technological landscape for the past 20 years, and I think Rachna would agree to that, it has always been said that Indians are good at offering the service part of it. We were really not making the products. The products were always the IBMs and the HPs and the Ciscos and so on and so forth. And whereas we were good, at offering the service, whatever, whether it was just the cost arbitrage or whether it was something else, that doesn't. But the fact is, a very huge resource pool which could be put into action to service it. But where are the products? No, Indians are not imaginative enough, not creative enough. The products are not coming. All that is hogwash. The reality is, we get carried away by different things. Today, on the spectrum, there are very good Indian startups who have ensured that they have proper funding in place and they are doing extremely well. Winning awards is one thing. You don't necessarily buy awards if that is the concept you are having, You really have to go and do something over there. You really need to have a good market share and a good visibility, then you win awards. So Net Monastery is one of the examples that I can give. But there is one word of advice I want to give, because when I look at people who are 22, 23, I get the energy. And the energy that you translate to me, you have to utilize it yourself. And most of you may be waiting for that very beautiful offer letter from your campus placements. And some of you may be thinking of a startup. Dream about a startup. But just two things to be very, very careful over here. Don't fall in love with your product. Don't fall in love with a product. It's not worth it. It is to be sold in the market at the right time, have the heart and the ability to give it away. Make money. If you fall in love with a product, it will not thrive. Number one. Number two, every time you approach an investor, they might say, where is the business model? They're not wrong. If you do not have a revenue model in place, a brilliant idea of a brilliant product and a brilliant service doesn't make sense. The revenue model has to be there, and beyond that, learn to manage cash flows. If you don't manage the inflows and the outflows, it's going to be spiraling to a doom. So entrepreneurs, yes, great products, great ideas, don't fall in love with it, and always have the revenue model very clear and manage your cash flows. That is a sure shot success. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Amit. Manoj, 1 minute quick, your take on the Indian startup and disruption. Yes, please.
So I would say, why startups, we are seeing many startups coming up in India, is because of their ability to react and respond. This entire environment and the ecosystem is, changing very fast. And there are, because the environment is changing very fast, there are many problems. So to solve many problems, we want many people to solve them. And these startups are basically individuals coming up with unique ideas to solve the existing problem that are getting created because the environment is changing very fast. So these startups are able to respond fast. They are agile. Because of that, they can scale up. They can actually move faster than the traditional big companies. So and access to fund has also come now. So access to capital is also there in India now because of globalization, and people are more attracted towards starting their own stuff in India. India was always with a bent of mind of starting something. Every Indian was. But now, because there are many problems, we want many solutions, and startup, many people will move towards that now. Yeah.
Thank you, Manoj. Rajiv likes to talk about, startup ecosystem.
Yeah, my unit here in India manages StartPath, where we invest directly in fintechs. And these are early stage and also late stage investments through corporate development. So we invest big time into startups. So I'll give two examples of such investments we have done and big disruptions again from a fintech space. I talked about growth of acceptance. Growing from 1.3 million to 5 million, it did not happen on its own. The traditional players could not push that growth. So who brought about this growth? One company which brought about quick onboarding of merchants. When you see that POS machine, usually in the past 2 years, it used to take 1 week. If you're in Mumbai, in the metros, if you're in tier 2, 3 cities, it could take weeks, sometimes months to get one point of sale machine for a merchant. That we have, with the help of a fintech, we brought it down to 30 minutes. In 30 minutes, on a phone, we onboard merchants. That's one of the reasons why we are growing as fast as we are growing. And we are the first. And we are taking that company globally. I was there with this company in New York last week. And we are taking them to Africa, to Latin America, and many other countries. And I'm a big believer in fintechs from India going and solving for the world. Amit, I heard what you said, but fintech is going to change India's reputation in this. A second example in this space, which you will again love, is a small company. I don't know how many of you know. Every day, this company, without advertising for $1, you got advertising folks here, without advertising $1, they onboard 500 merchants a day. Today, in India. Nobody knows about this company. It's out of Bangalore, word of mouth, and let's say, for instance, Professor Ruchika is a painter and she wants to sell her paintings and she doesn't know how to sell it online. She can, in less than 5 minutes, become a merchant online, take pictures of our paintings, post it, and sell the paintings not just to Indians anywhere in India, but to the world. All this can be done in 10 to 15 minutes, and this company is enabling this. 500 online merchants they're onboarding every day, which is almost 200,000. And we got 1 million merchants in 2018 who are only selling things from corners of India to people in cities and to the globe. So, fintech space in India, phenomenal opportunity, and some of you, if you can solve for these small little problems that you see around you, you can become millionaires. All these companies that I'm talking about, below 30-year kids, all of them are multimillionaires already in the last 2 years. So please dream big.
So, because you're a very young crowd, and I think what Rajiv said is extremely important. You are in great times. That's what I believe. You have the kind of opportunities we never had. There are many examples in front of you. Today there is maybe not my industry, but a marketplace, let it be Oyo, where a 19-year-old or a 24-year-old Ritesh has managed to bring up Oyo Rooms concept, which is a $5 billion market capitalization, wherein Touges of the world, not to digress, but the traditional heritage hotels are at a $2 billion kind of a market capitalization. So there is immense potential, and I think the startup mentality and the heart to leverage disruptions is going to take you to the next level. So all the best to you all.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Rachna. I think Professor Ruchika is showing me signals saying that no, I have to wind up in 5 minutes, in the sense my questioning, and then we'll come to you. So keep your questions. I have one more question. I think we would finish it in 5 minutes. So if you've got any questions, you could note it down. Some of this, gentlemen and this lady, they have covered, one major question that I wanted to ask. What is that you have to do? Do's and don'ts, I think Rajiv and, Rachna, they've covered. One thing I like to tell, all of you, every year our students, most of them, they take up jobs in industries, in traditional industries. And a few of them, they become entrepreneurs, and we are trying very hard to make them entrepreneurs. So keeping this in mind, for them, 1 minute, a quick, advice about one specific industry or, a couple of industries that has got, a lot in store for them. If at all you might, advise them, right? I think that would be very nice. Quickly, starting from Sanjay.
I think, like when you start on your own, you are your own boss, nobody to question you, etc. Now, when you're going, when you are on the journey, when you stumble, you fall down, remember you are always learning, and you have to know how to bounce back. It's very, very easy to talk, bounce back and all those things, but it's very difficult because we have gone through that stage. My only one takeaway is, whenever you are going through hard times, invest in yourself, find a coach, find a mentor, invest, and then take the next leap. All the best.
So my advice to the students here is that try to be with multiple skills. Today, in today's world, with single skill set, it's very difficult to survive. Environment is changing very fast, so you have to acquire multiple skills to be successful in life. So just think and acquire multiple skills, and also think technology. You have to have a financial bent of mind, technical bent of mind. You have to have this entire spectrum of thought process. You cannot live with single thought process. So just think differently, think from all the aspects. That is what I can say.
I'm from the financial services industry, and I've already given you a hint. Fintech space, I believe, is huge in India. A proof point and the opportunities, 86+% of all the transactions in India today, even after all the action that you've seen on the digital space, is still in cash. So any idea where you can convert that cash to a digital mode of payment, there's money chasing you and your ideas. One. Number two, healthcare. Anything that you can come up with to solve for whether measuring blood pressure or blood sugar or anything, you have money and fame looking at you. Number three is environment. Every day you see in the newspapers the PM particle, how bad the air is, how terrible the environment is. So anything that you can disrupt with your ideas, with your solutions, is again big game. So 3 ideas for you to chase.
Thank you, Rajiv. Rachna?
So I think now I'll wear my marketing hat, and I would want to encourage you by saying that digitization and digital marketing are the number one spends by all technology companies. This is a CIO survey which Gartner did, and this is ahead of mobility, ahead of IoT, and even ahead of an AI or a security. And at the core of it is the customer experience, which is going to take the lead. If I have to put it correctly, if data is the new oil, then ML and analytics are the new toil. Automation and robotics are going to give rise to a new skilled workforce. Making technology think is going to be the new normal. There are going to be designations like Chief Technical Marketing Officers who are going to be leading the boardroom conversations. Data scientists are going to be part of the marketing landscape. CMO is going to be the catalyst of the change. And simply elucidating, you have the power today, because at the heart of it, or at the heart of this digital democracy, is going to be marketing as one of the co-leaders. And the second part would be the personal advice or an observation through my life, that while you chart your journey through being able marketeers, it would be important that you partake the journey of taking care of your education at the highest level and your health. So your profession, your education, and your health, these are going to define you as the next leaders.
Thank you, Rachna. Ravikant? Yeah.
For entrepreneurs, people who wish to start on their own, I have an advice on the finance side and on the marketing side. So, coming from a Marwadi in advertising, on the finance side, I would say, learn how to become a Marwadi. Manage your cash flows, manage your expenses. Don't try and make your expenses far greater than your revenues. Like Amit said, do your business planning, do your projections, and so on and so forth. So actually you would do good if you, Google Marwadis and see what they do really. So that'll give you a few insights. On the marketing side, never be a Marwadi. and let me explain why I say that. In today's time, if you are going to be conjuice about anything, and especially from a marketing standpoint, if you are going to be conjuice about delivering value to your clients. Now, all of you must have heard deliver value, deliver value, deliver value. So you get into any nature of an engagement, whether it is a services business or whether it is a products business. It is all going to be about relationships. And over a period of time, if you want to succeed, you will have to invest in these relationships. And the only meaningful way to invest in these relationships is to definitely deliver more than what you commit in any and all your relationships. So if it is a service, I come from advertising. So from a services business, if I take 2 extra steps that the client is not expecting, what he's expecting anyways, we put down on a piece of paper, we've signed, and all that commercial transaction that will happen. That is the finance side of it. They're okay, be that Marwadi. But when it comes to the other side, and I'll give you one very small example. So there is this very large corporate for whom we just concluded an assignment, and this is a multi-million, billion-dollar Indian corporate. Now, we did, let's just say, a huge presentation for them where they were participating in an international level competition. And this is very huge. So this whole presentation and a video and so on and so forth. So our job was not to just put the whole presentation together. My job is to make sure that they win. If you go with that as a mindset, then you will also question your client and tell him, why are you doing this? I think this is wrong. Why are you doing this? This is wrong. And some of you guys, you're on Netflix and Amazon. If you watch a few serials, especially those which are beamed from the US, like suits. Earlier you had practice. So if you see suits, what does that guy do? Harvey Specter and Mike Ross. What do those guys do? They fight with each other. They fight with everybody in this world, but they want to make their clients victorious. That is your job. So that's it from me, guys.
Thank you, Ravika. Amit.
So, 3 quick points. I thought very vital for entrepreneurs to. I've already talked about the revenue model, but let me put it in plain speak, which probably will touch your heart more than any other language. Okay, when you are an entrepreneur and when you make your models, remember one thing. Everybody is very clear because of all the flowery things you want to do. कि इन्वेस्टर का पैसा कहाँ जाएगा वो आपको पता है, पर आपके बिजनेस का पैसा कहाँ से आएगा, do you know that? I mean, unless and until you're very clear how the money is going to come, don't think of becoming an entrepreneur. It's just not worth it. As I said, it's only good rosy ideas, but ultimately what matters is money. This is number 1 that you have to know. Number 2, and this is just a personal advice. I'm not too sure I should be coming to a management or a B school and talking about this. I may be pulled up by the doctors after that, okay? But I feel it's very important to learn discipline before you become an entrepreneur. You want to become your own boss? Great. But have you learned what it is being a boss? Have you learned working under a boss? Do you know what it is to swipe your attendance card at 8:55 without fail? Do you know what it is to slog for 10 hours a day? My fear is, and this is just my fear, doctor, I'm sorry, okay? This is just my fear, that if at the age of 22, you're going to become your own boss, then I'm a little skeptical about it. I would much rather you guys really slog it out for 2 hours, 2 years somewhere, then become entrepreneurs, because then the pillars of making your business run, production, finance, marketing, okay, or operations, finance, marketing, will be very clearly understood by you. Otherwise, it will be just stars in your eyes and you will want to do that. You can definitely do it, just an advice. If you have a fine financial and a family background, yeah, you can always do that because you may have the DNA in you, you can immediately jump. Remember, an American MBA is 27, 28, 29, 30 years old. An Indian MBA is 22, 23 years old. Because you have done your 3 years of graduation and you have jumped, or 4 years of graduation and jumped into 2-year course. You are 22. Do you really want to become an entrepreneur at 22? Yes, there are stories of people becoming CEOs at 24. Fine, great, absolutely fine. But is that a sustainable model? Okay. And I'll then conclude by giving you some tips on which sectors to look at. And obviously, I'll borrow from what Raju said and what Rachna said. Yeah, healthcare, look at it. Brilliant, absolutely explosively growing. Renewable energy, which Raju touched upon, and what Rachna touched upon. Machine language and artificial intelligence. These 3 are areas where there are golden opportunities. You can really come up with something wonderful. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you. We have taken exactly 60 minutes. My watch is right in front of me. So now we are moving into the Q&A, question and answer session. I think the volunteers are here. If you have a question, you can mention your question as crisp as possible. And you can point out, you can take the name of the speaker and the speaker would answer your question. Yeah. Oh, good. Okay, all right. Go ahead.
How can organization tackle the disruption and transform in a new ecosystem?
I will quickly you just have to refer to the 5-pillar model which I shown. That was exactly meant to answer this question. How do you leverage? Have those 5 pillars in place and I think you will be able to leverage any kind of disruption. My short take on it.
Thank you, Amit. By the way, how many questions you have? 10 questions. I think then, each question, each speaker, one speaker would take. Quickly, yeah? Yeah. Next question.
Yes, we have a question from Manan Bhatt, first year PGDM, who says, within a fluctuating market environment, how can business simply minimize the risk and maximize the opportunity?
So I would say, always, market is always fluctuating, it's not stable, environment has changed. So we have to, so research and development, we have to establish research and development wing within the organization so that, we are ahead of time and we are able to calculate, risk and, volatility in the market, we have to do this every day on a daily basis,
Thank you, Amit. Next question, please.
So the next question is, how can an individual or a company make their product and service change more responsive to demand fluctuation due to market disruption?
I think I can go back to the example that I gave. For instance, we saw the government pushing for more cards in customers' wallets. Almost every Indian has got a payment product in their wallet, a debit card, 990 million cards. And we saw that it's a good thing. But for those cards to be utilized, you need to provide for acceptance, wide acceptance. And we saw that as an opportunity, and partnered with fintechs and payment facilitators and the entire ecosystem to push acceptance. And we believe India needs around 15 to 20 million acceptance locations, which is the largest acceptance market in the world. 10 million is what USA is at. We are heading towards 10 million immediately in the next 2 years. And we believe between 15 and 20 million should be the acceptance locations for a country the size of India. So I believe that's how we are addressing that particular question that you answered.
Thank you, Raj. Next question, please.
How will changing social habits impact organizations' ability to reach to its customers?
Ms. Rachna, you like to take?
I think that's what I've been elucidating to, that it is a change in social habits which has brought us to a stage where we are a digital society today. And that is going to define how industry is also aligned to the motion. So the motion is not being led by industries today. They do not define what are the next services, next products. It is a consumer who is going to be defining that what is the next phenomena, the next disruption, the next service which needs to be defined. And that's the reason you would see a lot of companies, be it Cisco, be it an Indian company like Tata Communications or so and so forth, that they have moved their model completely from a network-centric approach. Infrastructure is commoditized today to a platform-centric approach, and it is going to go up in the pyramid where we actually move to applications and services with the new DevOps or the Kubernetes model. So it is the customer who's defining and pushing the industry to move forward, and that is going to be at the heart of the entire disruption.
Thank you, Ms. Rachna. Next question, please.
I'd like to just
you like to
add
add? Please.
So what is happening is with, let's say, the increased acceptance of digital and these newer devices and our penchant with the Facebooks and the WhatsApps, and this is across, like I said, not just an urban phenomena. When this kind of a social media intensive presence is happening of all the consumers, it provides an opportunity for brands to be able to engage with them via these. And I'd like to clearly say that when it comes to brands reaching out to consumers via digital, it has become very, very democratic these days. So it's not about people who have millions of dollars or crores and crores to spend. It is even much smaller spends that are able to reach out to end consumers. To give you one very quick example, on digital, of course, if you pour in more money, you will get more number of followers, likes and post engagements and so on and so forth. But leave that aside. Let's say if somebody came up with an idea, and somebody did, on Women's Day, instead of, just saying, post something on your mother and this and that, somebody posted something very interesting, an idea that typically in India, your name, if one were to ask you your full name, you would say, my name, for instance, would be Ravikant Rajkumar Banka. So, you'd use your father's name as your middle name, in most of our country. Somebody came up with this idea saying on Mother's Day, let's honor our mothers and let's put our mother's name. So, Ravikant Gayatri Devi Banka. Now, that suddenly, it strikes a chord with a lot of people. So, in this new age where digital is all over, where social media has become so powerful, Twitter has become so powerful, that idea, it caught on like a rage. So that didn't consume crores and crores of rupees. It just consumed an idea. So like an idea can provide a lot of leverage in this new age economy.
Thank you, Ravikant. Next question, please.
What or is there one thing or trend that you can predict as of now? And how can you leverage that?
Sanjay, you like to take? You like the question to hear?
Just a quick, whenever you are thinking of about any product or any service, you can go to Google Trends, You can analyze that, like what is happening in the last 5 years, 30 days. You can analyze it, like which area that keyword is being searched, etc. So one is Google Trends. You can go and search over there.
Okay. Thank you. I'd like to add?
Very quickly, what I as a person would want every one of you to do is to be ahead of the to read the market transitions and to keep yourself ahead of them. When I say in a marketing perspective, I say today we all are talking digital marketing in a big way. But if you read the trends right, AI, ML are coming, and they are going to be the next growth charters for marketing as a community, because digital will do only as much, but AI will make, like a network, it will be commoditizing digital to quite an extent where it will be able to say that Mr. X likes a blue color on this banner on the right hand side. This is where his eyeball is. This is the time he's spending. So all those analytics and all those customizations and persona based journeys will be defined not only through digital but by AI, and that is the need of the hour, that you stay tuned, you keep studying the transitions and stay ahead of them from a trending perspective, and that is going to take you to the next level.
Okay.
Thank
you, Mr. Rajput. Next question, please.
One industry that, according to you, need to witness disruption.
I think there are many industries, we have not seen a lot of growth and disruption. Maybe logistics is one of the industry where we have not seen a lot of disruptions as of now. And in the country like India, we have huge opportunities in the education side, in the logistics, education and healthcare. These are, few industries where, still a lot of disruption needs to happen.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Raju, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I believe education is absolutely up there for disruption in India. And I believe it is going to happen. We have already seen the trends, but large-scale disruption is imminent.
Yeah, very true. Thank you, Mr. Raju.
Thank you, sir.
Next.
I will share one thing over here.
Please.
This is food for thought. We are talking about trends coming up and which sectors are they likely to impact. I have just a food for thought for you all. There is no answer. I don't have an answer to that. I will just take the thread from Rachna. Okay, artificial intelligence. She gave an example, possibly of maybe advertising or how you could customize for the segment of one. Okay, I'm just thinking that in healthcare, what are your doctors, right? Doctors have practiced medicine by cutting up bodies, okay, and 4.5 years of slogging, memorizing everything, okay. They have huge knowledge base, and when they see symptoms, they do symptomatic treatment. What if eventually this entire thing is done through artificial intelligence? You don't really need doctors. You need healthcare workers, definitely. But then you have these specialists, okay, whose appointments someone really needy might get after 2 weeks, okay, and by that time the illness has aggravated. If artificial intelligence is going to go in that direction, and if diagnosis, prognosis is going to be driven through this, then I think some disruption is due in the next 5 to 10 years. Just a thought.
Thank you. Thank you, Amit. How many questions do you have? How many more questions?
Just one question. One more question.
One more question. Okay, last question. Okay, yes,
Okay.
please.
So, what, according to you, would be the strategies for disruption?
Okay. So, who would like to take this? What, according to you, the strategy for disruption? Ravi?
Yeah. I'd just say, be agile and fit, be prepared for any eventuality. You can't predict what the future is. You can't predict. And, you'll have various quotes, people saying, you can't predict the future, create the future. While for some it might be possible, for the others, be agile and fit, be willing to change. Every day is a new day. Gone are the days when in early days, 40 years back, the Birlas and Tatas, they set their huge factories and industries, and those were set and wo chalte rehte thi. Gone are those days. Today there's no other way than to be agile. At the age of 40, 45 or 50, let's say if somebody today, he loses his job, he's done. Unless he's agile, he's been continually contributing in large measures to his organization. So for you to be relevant as individuals, I think just be at it, be very agile, know what's happening in the market, keep contributing value.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ravikant. So, That brings closer to our session. I have 6 brilliant experts sitting on my right and on left side. Very focused, very sharp, and bringing a lot of perspectives. Please put your hands together, for this lovely session. And you should really appreciate the 10, of your students, they asked, sometimes some tricky questions, some, some trivial and some of them really good. I think I'd like to thank all 10 of them, those who asked. Put your hands together. Yeah. Last but not the least, you guys were really good. I could see that, you all enjoyed this conversation. So this is for you. Put your hands together for you, guys. Yeah. So that brings our panel discussion to an end. And thank you, gentlemen. And thank you, Lady Rachna. Thank you so much.
We at Touge held a series of online events for which I would like to invite Mr. Yawaz Sayed, a student volunteer for Touge, to brief everyone about the same.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, panelists. Good afternoon, professors. Good afternoon, students. So this time, Touge 2018 had 4 marketing events. This time, they were launched on darettocompete.com. I would like to give a gist about the first one named KSA, that was Knowledge Scrutiny and Analysis. What happened basically in this event was we provided a case study which was prepared by one of the professors from DSIMS, and it was shared to the participants of different colleges like IIMs, NMIMS, Symbiosis, and IIT Bombay. I am overwhelmed to let you all know that we have almost 10,000 views and on our post and nearly 300 registered teams. And now I would like to announce the winners for the KSA. The third prize for the KSA goes to the college IIM Trichy, and the winners are Kevin Malar, Naveen Ragul, and Charles Anthony. The second prize goes to Preetham Bhattacharji, and the college is Symbiosis Institute of Management. The first prize goes to Abhimanyu Singh from IIT Bombay. The second of the 4 events was Marketing Crossword, which also had 10,000 views and approx 300 individuals with 250 teams participating for the event. It's a great pleasure. The winners for this event are: the third prize goes to IIM Ahmedabad, Aravind Shankar. The second prize goes to KJ Somaya, Anchal Rawat, and Mayank Prakash. The first prize goes to Anurag Sharma, Aditya Institute of Management Studies. A third event, that was Likes for Win, was one where participants were asked to share and collect as many likes as possible on social media. The participant who gets the maximum number of likes win. The event was basically planned looking at the fact that companies had departments for social media handling, knowing how disruptive it is. Talking about the participation, the event had nearly 500 views with almost 100 teams registrations. The winners for the Likes for Win are as: the third prize goes to IMT Ghaziabad, Ankita Joshi. The second prize goes to Aditya Institute of Management Studies, Pratik Suvarna. And the first prize goes to Wellinger Halim Sheikh. The last one being Quiz Nation. The last one is the event with around 500 registrations and with 5,000 views on the post. The highest number we got this year, and that's absolutely great. Now this time, the winners for marketing for Quiz Nation are: the third prize goes to Bedekar Institute, Ankur Yadav. The second prize goes to Wellinger Halim Sheikh. The first prize goes to Aditya Institute of Management Studies, Shivam Sharma. So with this, we end our event announcement winners. So now I'd like to call upon.
Now, we would like to thank and appreciate our guests for taking out their valuable time and for gracing this occasion. We would like to call upon stage Dean Dr. Sharad Kumar to present a memento to Mr. Amit Abhyankar.
Thank you, sir. Now, we would like to request Associate Dean and HOD Finance, Dr. Sarita Vichore, to present a memento to Ms. Rachna Dhaka and thank her for gracing this occasion.
Thank you, ma'am. We would like to request Chairperson Second Year MMS, Professor Sharmila Banerjee, to present a memento to Mr. Rajiv Kumar.
Now, we would like to request Marketing Domain Faculty, Dr. Chandrasekhar Kaushik, to present a memento to Mr. Sanjay Banerjee for making his presence felt.
We would like to call upon stage ECEL convener, Professor Nilesh Deshpande, to present a memento to Mr. Ravikant Banka.
Now, we would like to request Marketing Domain Faculty, Dr. Dhanashri Pote, to present a memento to Mr. Manoj Verma for making his presence felt.
Thank you for being such an interactive audience. We'd now like to call upon stage Marketing Domain Faculty, Dr. Chandrasekhar Kaushik, to please give a vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I had thought of giving vote of thanks in the disruptive way, but this activity has to be done in a formal way. In this current era of disruptions, where disruption-ready organizations produce strategies that focus on leveraging opportunities and mitigating risks, the speakers on the dais enlightened us today with new buzzwords which many of us have heard for the first time, like MAD or BUCA and other things. I would like to thank the speakers for enlightening us again with all this new things which are happening in this current world. Of course, I have heard good new things. In 2 years, young wizards earn millions and millions of rupees with all these disruptions. I'd like to thank the management of RACT for providing this hall for this wonderful conclave, Touge 2018. Under the able guidance of Dr. Kondab, Dr. Babu, Dr. Sharat Kumar, Dr. Sarita Vichore, we had this successful function happening. I'd like to thank all the sponsors for sponsoring today's event, Touge 18. My special thanks goes to Professor Ruchika Shaukin, in charge of Touge 2018, and also to all the marketing colleagues, Professor Nilesh Deshpande, Dr. Dhanashri Pote, Dr. Padma Singhal, for their efforts in putting this today's event and making this event successful. I thank the admin department, IT department for Touge 18 to go smooth. I thank core committee student members, both seniors and juniors, again for the successful event. I also thank all those names which I have missed unknowingly. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. With that, we come to an end of our marketing conclave and discussion about leveraging disruption.
We'd also like to thank all of you for being such a wonderful and patient audience. We now request all our guests and our faculty to please move to the cafeteria for...
Okay. Before that, we would like to request Dr. Sharat Kumar, Dr. Sarita Vichore, along with all our marketing faculties to come forward to capture this valuable moment in a photograph.